A definite good afternoon to everybody. Here is a second of the videos that I was going to include the T72 tank in, and that is a comparison of the T72 versus the M1 Abrams. Now, why these two? Because if we have to put boots on the ground in Iran, we will be facing their most numerous tank, the T72S. And this is what the Iraqi army is going to have. The most numerous tank. They have some older British and American tanks that they modified and stuff, but this is one of their main, probably one that you'd see the most. So it would go and it would engage the M1 Abrams. Give me a second here. Of Desert Storm and Iraqi fame and Afghanistan fame. And yes, the Abrams would be fighting the T72. Now, how would that be? Well, I don't know the terrain that much in Iran. It's kind of deserty and dusty and stuff, and mountains and different areas, but the T72, being a lighter tank, can traverse marshlands and places where the Abrams would not be able to get in as well. This is a 41-ton tank versus a 65-ton tank, which would be the Abrams. I'm going to bring the Abrams back. 65 tons. And both these tanks are true to scale, so you could see just by looking the dimensional differences and other differences in the two designs. The T72, now this was going to be run by Iranian tank crews, not the same as Iraqi tank crews. I would say that the Iranian tank crews are much better trained, much more proficient, and know how to use their tank. What makes the T72 dangerous is this gun. This gun is a smooth bore 125 millimeter, and it has a long barrel. And for any of you that do any shooting or stuff, you know the longer the barrel, the more accurate the shot. So from a longer range, the T72 could go and shoot armor-piercing rounds, sabot rounds, and they can launch some kind of a missile through the smooth bore gun that could go out after the Abrams. Now, I don't know how they do ammo storage on this, but if you remember my video from the other day, these tanks had a tendency of the turrets blowing off, the jack-in-a-box effect. But as I said, I think it was because of the loose ammo stored within the tank, and current Ukrainian military people are using only use, I guess, the ammo that's in the actual carousel, the autoloader itself. So you won't have that happening, and it must be working because you don't hear about the turrets blowing off anymore, at least not now. So what does the Abrams have as far as a gun? It has a 120 millimeter XM256 smoothbore cannon made by Rheinmetall Borsig of Germany. There's a 4-man crew in here, 40 miles an hour on roads, 40 plus off roads. And saying in my revised notes, 68 to 73 tons. I guess it would depend on what's inside of this tank. You got a 1500 shaft horsepower gas turbine, and it has better electronics. It has a thing called, if I wrote it down here, so it'd be Intervehicular Information System, VIS is called. The commander's independent thermal viewer and an enhanced armor package on it. What does that mean? That means the visibility for a commander, which would be the little guy sitting in a turret there, has a 360-degree unobstructed view of everything. So as far as situational awareness in the battlefield, a well-trained Abrams crew is devastating basically to any other tank that it's going to face in the field. As far as survivability, going to be crew protection of the crew in the Abrams versus the crew in the T72. The Abrams definitely has a better chance of survival than a T72 crew. The biggest reason why, they have blowout panels. If this tank gets hit, the ammo is not going to ignite to kill the crew as it would in a T72 tank. The panels will blow out, the crew will be able to escape, which is a big plus that the Fortunately, the T-72 does not have. The Abrams also has a extremely well stabilized main gun, which can fire on the move very accurately. Now, I don't know about the one in the T-72 it's stabilized, but I don't think it can go and fire at will on demand when it's on the battlefield the way the Abrams can. So you basically got to set yourself in a good spot and set yourself up and attack. Now, as far as sensors in this tank, they're like older kind of looking sensors on this, like 1980ish kind of sensors. Well, I know they did update the sensory package on this. So the newer versions of this would probably be the T72S, the 1500 that Iran has. Probably has sensors that'll enable it to go ahead and procure its target easier, set the gun ready to fire, and then hopefully the autoloader gets everything in there and they're able to fire their round. I do know that this gun can penetrate the armor on the M1 Abrams. The older ones, yes, definitely, because Russians that are fighting the Ukrainians in Ukraine have shot up older versions of the Abrams with not the best and most latest armor. So, with that long range stabilization, the Abrams tank can hunt and kill, kind of like a tank destroyer used to in World War II. I don't think you'll find that kind of an option with the T-72. In the war in Iraq, the T-72s, many of them with Saddam Hussein's advanced forces of the Republican Guard, had these kind of dug in and used them as static artillery, which is kind of weird because it's a fairly mobile tank. I mean, you'd have to devise a tactic for it. The Abrams has advanced composite armor with layers of depleted uranium, which all the American ones do. I don't think the Ukrainian versions have them. They're the earlier versions. And this baby here, I mean, can survive pretty much hits. It has some weak spots around the turret here. Let me see if I can hold this and show you, like underneath and stuff. But you got to be an awfully good shot and an awful good sensor setter basically to get it set up to do a kill shot like that. And I don't think you're going to see that, especially if they use these the tactic that they used during Desert Storm of massing these on a battlefield. But I'm sure Iran has seen that and might have some kind of a counter to it. What they would do, I don't know. Another thing about this autoloader, yeah, it does blow the turrets off and stuff, but if you get a crew that's really in sync with the tank and whatever tactics they're using, this tank could be a pretty devastating piece on the battlefield. I mean, you could actually hold up and fight. That's why I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to Iranian tank crews, because if they're trained as well as the Eastern European crews that use this tank, I mean, they should be able to cause some havoc or maybe some damage. I don't know. I don't know how they can work in groups. Because for a tank to work effectively, you need infantry to be around a tank, and that helps in the survivability of the tank as far as small arms or small devices going to take out a tank, drones, bazookas, or any kind of small anti-tank devices that would be available. And I don't know how the Iranian army is. I'm sure they would have infantry, which we do with ours. We have the Bradley carriers. They have troops in between. But the Abrams has good support from its infantry and infantry support vehicles, which are in it. The Iranians, I mean, if they had like the BMP, Soviet BMP, they might be able to do a good job with that, but I'm not sure. Let me see what we can find else here. This is a very fast tank, the Abrams, but it sucks down fuel. It's a heavy tank, and it doesn't do well on bridges. I mean, and in loose kind of soil kind of stuff it's on, where it could kind of sink, it could give you issues. It would be in a situation like that, you wouldn't want to get into an environment where you'd have to struggle with the size of your tank to battle something like this, which is extremely lighter and it could move around and just kind of smack the heck out of you with its gun and probably give you casualties. That's what the infantry support tries to help about if it's tank on tank battle. The Abrams problem with fuel, I mean, it looks like the only problem here that it would have. in terms of armor plating, the firepower, the stabilized gun being able to fire on the move, um, and basically the 360 situational awareness and ability of the commander in the Abrams. You see on his cupola of his turret can engage whatever. Information can come in, targeting information, other information, and as far as reacting to things on the battlefield, the Abrams is much better situational awareness wise and can easily subdue the T72, even a modernized one like the T72S that the Iranians had. I would assume sensory stuff was updated, the armor might be a little bit different, but still, no, you're looking at a Soviet era Cold War, late 1970s, 1980s kind of a tank, which in its day was a pretty awesome tank, especially going up against the M60 that we had back there. But that's what the Abrams came about for, to be basically a tank that could take on any other tank and win. Which, if you watch any movies and stuff about the Iraqi War, yeah, they did. That one battle, like 22 Eastling, I think it was during Desert Storm. They did a number on the Iraqi T-72s that they came up against, and I don't know how to really explain that. I mean, it's not like, I mean, the equipment was bad, but I think a lot of it was a situation in Iraq at the time, with Saddam doing his stuff and other people just doing what he said, and so you have this baby here. These will go into combat if they put boots on the ground. The Marines even use them, and they will be facing the T-72 in the guise of the T-72S and any sub-variants or older variants that the Iranian army might have. You might see it as soon as a week or so to see that happening, but if it does happen, hopefully my video kind of give you a view of what you would see, especially when you see these goofy videos that are grainy and the drone videos. This is what they're taking pictures of if they are fighting on the ground. This tank is doing okay now in Ukraine. The problem is the Russians have gone through theirs, and the Ukrainians with their drone warfare have been able to knock out the Russian ones that were coming against them. And as far as Russian tanks to fight, the T-72 and the T-90 are the best, and they've been going through them like water. So whatever these tanks that are left, like the ones in Iran and European countries that still have them, they've probably updated them. They're not what you'd want to use as a modern MBT. MBT meaning main battle tank, to go fight like a Leopard, a Challenger, or an Abrams. So if war is to be pursued on the ground, you will see some of our fancier equipment engaging the Iranians. I am so sorry, I can call them the Iraqis. You don't want another repeat of Iraq with 20 plus years of nation building. And it would be these two battling it out, kind of like a wrestling meet. The T-72 versus the Abrams. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks what happens, and then hopefully nothing too bad, but we'll see. And you might see these two guys battling it out in the next couple of days or so. We'll see what happens. I have another video that I'm going to work on a MiG-29. It's a MiG-29 that's in East German markings once again. I use the East German markings instead of the Soviet or the Russian because it kind of gives a good perspective, and other countries use them. And that one should be out in a day or so. I got to build a MiG-29, and I have found a T-90 tank. I'm waiting for it to come in. I will build that one. And then basically we could do even more comparisons, because a T-90 is Russia's most modern battlefield. It's a good tank, actually. I don't know how they're doing with it in Ukraine. I guess they're losing him too. I use Ukraine as a bellwether to judge stuff, tactics, equipment, and see what happens. And like I said, I thought the T-72 was kind of a joke in some respects until I started reading stuff from the war. And the Ukrainians actually do well with these older tanks. They understand its weaknesses. They understand and respect its strengths, and they try to use its strengths the best that they can to be successful on the battlefield, which they have. Will the Iranians do the same? I don't know. You have their Republican whatever is guards that protect the Ayatollah and the mullahs, and you have the regular army. So who knows? But you will know, and you will see soon. So on that note, I will end this. I may have another video on local elections, but that will be happening probably later. But for now, I'll end this video here and hope that everybody enjoys this. Any questions about anything, just leave me a message or something. Hopefully I can answer it, and there will be many more videos coming. Thanks again, and have a nice day.